Man, I gotta say this. This is wild because for the longest time, let's be real, the flyweight division never got this kind of spotlight. Like, yeah, hardcore fans appreciate it, but casuals fans, almost non existent. But ever since last Saturday, bro, non stop, like, people won't shut up about Joshua Van, and I get it. I completely get it. Look at my lips. The kid is a monster. Like the way he fights, it's clean, it's sharp, it's fast like lightning fast, you know? And when you realize he's only been training MMA for what, 5 to 6 years? That's insane. He's already fighting at championship level. I'm not even exaggerating when I said that the fight with Brandon Royval was one of the best flyweights fights I've ever seen. Easily, it was a pure war, man. Probably the greatest fight. Nah, I can't say that. Probably one of the greatest fights I've ever seen, though. It was a back and forth, chaos, technical exchange. Both guys had their moments, but Van pulled it out. He dug deep, made the mid-fight adjustments, and got the job done. And think about it, man. This dude was like ranked what? Number 12, number 13, somewhere down there. And now in just one night, he just leaped over the entire ladder, straight to the top. Now he's the number one contender. He's fighting Alexandre Pantoja for the title next. Like, bro, this is real. This is happening. And look, I gotta be honest with y'all. I love Van's style. I love what he brings to the table. I was super impressed with him last week. The fact that he beat someone like Brandon Royval, who's one of the most chaotic, unpredictable, crafty vets in the game, and did it on short notice. Come on, man. That tells you everything you need to know about his heart and his skill set. The kid's a dog. But, and I hate to say this, but I gotta keep it real. That's my job. That's why I make these videos, am I right? As much as I rock with Joshua Van, and as hype as I am for his rise, I just don't see him beating Pantoja. I just don't. Not right now. And look, let's break this down a little bit because, yeah, Joshua Van looked amazing last Saturday. He really did. The hands, the patience, the timing, the counters, it was all there. But here's the truth. As fun and flashy and entertaining as Van was, and trust me, it was entertaining, it just wasn't as impressive as what the champ did, in my opinion. Like, not even close. Because did you all see what Alexandre Pantoja did to Kai Kara France, bro? That was domination. That was clinical. That was surgical. Pantoja didn't just beat Kai. He walked him down, outstruck him, took the guy down with ease, got his back like it was absolutely nothing, and then finished the job with a rear naked choke like he was just going through another day, you know? It was not chaotic. It was not wild. It was cold, calculated destruction, okay? And that's the difference here. Van has to go to war. Pantoja made it look easy, and I don't say that to knock Van. Again, he's a stud. But bro, we're talking about different levels. Pantoja is on a crazy run right now. The dude is like, what, 10-0 against ranked flyweights? 10-0. That's unheard of at 125. He's got 4 title defenses, and he's not just scrapping by. He's making guys who we thought were elite look like they don't belong there with him. And I'm just gonna say it, dude. Sorry, Demetrius, but we're getting dangerously close to calling Alexandre Pantoja the greatest flyweight of all time. Like, yeah, Mighty Mouse had all the numbers, had the reign, the suplex into armbar, all that. I love Demetrius. But if you look at who Pantoja is beating and how he's doing it, I don't know, man. I think we're watching history right now. And trust me, man, I already know what some of y'all are going to say. Bro, come on. People were doubting Joshua Van against Royval too. And look, what happened? And listen, I hear you. I really do. But let me tell you something, man. Let me tell you something real quick. That fight with Royval, that wasn't a full-on MMA fight. That was basically a striking match, a kickboxing match with 4-ounce gloves. There was no grappling sequence. There was no wrestling, no clinch battles, no scrambles on the mat. It was a clean technical war on the feet. And Joshua thrived in that environment. But now you're telling me he's about to fight Alexandre Pantoja. Bro, that's a whole different storm. That's not just a new matchup. That's a new dimension he's walking into. Because Pantoja isn't just going to sit back and trade hands all night. Okay? That man's going to close the distance, put hands on you, drag you into the fire, and take your back before you even know what happened. This ain't just a jab and slip game anymore. This is survival mode against the best grappler in the entire flyweight division. And I'm not just saying that for hype. Pantoja is legitimately the best backpack in the UFC right now. Not just 125. He's like a human shadow. Once he gets on your back, you're not shaking him off. And here's where it gets real for me, man. This is my biggest concern with Van in this fight. Look, I'll give him credit. His takedown defense is improving, no doubt about it. You could see the development. But let's keep it a buck. He's still young in the game. He's like, what, 5'4", maybe 5'5" on a good day? He's not a big guy for the division. He's compact, he's slick, and he's fast, but he doesn't pack a ton of power. And he doesn't have that get off of me strength some of the top tier flyweights have when they're defending grapplers like Pantoja. And listen, man, yeah, Van is a sniper. He can counter, he can move, he can slick with it, but all of that changes when you have a guy in front of you that's threatening to take down every second of the round. That kind of pressure, that kind of suffocating, relentless grappling threat, it changes everything. It forces you to react instead of flow. It puts that anxiety in your chest where you're not just worried about the damn jab anymore. Now you're thinking, damn, this dude's trying to get on my back and choke me out. That changes your stance, that changes your rhythm and your timing. It throws your whole style off. And I'm telling you, man, that's the Pantoja effect. That's what separates the champs from the rest of the pack. Alright, so let's really dive into how this fight would actually play out. Joshua Van versus Alexandre Pantoja. And listen, this isn't just a fun matchup on paper. It's a real clash of styles that could turn chaotic fast. You got Van, the smooth surgical striker, who looks like he was born with the boxing gloves on, versus Pantoja, the suffocating grappling storm that turns everything into a survival drill. And when those two worlds collide, something's got to give. Like, let's start with Van, man. The kid is crisp. I'm talking about high-level boxing, sharp footwork, calculated counters, all of that. When he gets into rhythm, he looks like he's playing chess while everyone is just shadow boxing. And if you give him space, he'll counter you and club the fuck out of your head like a damn ping pong ball. That's not even an exaggeration. He's got that kind of timing and pop, especially when opponents overextend. And you know Pantoja is going to do that. But the kicker is Pantoja wants the chaos. He doesn't care about clean technical or looking pretty. He'll swing wild, crash into the pocket, and bait you into a brawl, just so he can drag you into the deep end. And that's where the danger really starts, because if Van catches him with a clean counter, and he probably will early, if he doesn't finish him in a moment, then the script flips, because Pantoja's not just going to eat those shots for fun. He's walking through hell just to get a hold of you, to turn things around, to turn this thing into a dogfight. And once Pantoja grabs a leg, gets that clinch, or presses Van to the fence, that's when Van realizes, oh fuck, I might actually get taken down. And when that moment and that fear creeps in, the hands come down just a little, the feet stop moving just a little, and that's all what Pantoja needs. He's gonna drag him down and grind him out and start cooking. Submissions, ground and pound, position control, it's all on the menu. What's even more brutal is the mental pressure, because Pantoja doesn't give you breathing room. If Van's not scrambling perfectly or stuffing everything clean, he's gonna get worn out. And not just tired, panic tired. That kind of fatigue that hits when someone's glued to your back and you can't even move without exposing your neck. That's when the fight changes. That's where clean strikers become survival mode. And once Van's in that state, it's gonna open him up for even more on the feet. We've seen it before in MMA. When someone's afraid of the takedown, they start hesitating, and suddenly the shot that used to land clean don't come out at all. But still, Van's got a real shot, I would say, if he can keep the thing standing early, land something big, and force Pantoja to reset. He can absolutely light him up. His ability to mix up in the jab, go to the body, and angle off could give Pantoja some serious problems. And don't forget, Pantoja is still hittable. You can touch him, you just gotta survive the storm afterwards. But over the 5 rounds, with Pantoja's experience and his cardio and his grit and his relentless pressure, it's hard not to lean his way. Van is the future of this weight class, no doubt about it. But unless he made a major leap in his takedown defense and scramble, he's going to spend too much time defending and not enough time winning. Another crucial thing I think that's going to cost Joshua Van in this fight is that he doesn't have big power. That's not a knock on him. His striking is slick, he's accurate, and he could definitely sting guys. But he's not putting people out with one shot. And when you're dealing with someone like Alexandre Pantoja, who's willing to walk through a firestorm just to get your hands on you, not having power becomes a real problem, in my opinion. I generally believe that if you're going to beat Pantoja right now, you need 2 things at minimum: elite scrambles and legit power. Not just decent wrestling defense. I'm talking about scrambles like your life depends on it. And then you need that kind of power that makes him think twice about crashing forward. Think about like what Figgy was able to do. That's a dude who can crack. And He checked Pantoja with single shots. He made him hesitant. Most flyweights just don't have that. They hit sharp, they hit clean, but they don't hit hard. And that's why Pantoja doesn't respect a lot of these guys on the feet. He'll crash in swinging while taking damage and keep pressing because he knows once he gets close, he's taking your back. That's the whole game. We saw it with Steve Erceg. He was countering beautifully, landing clean, tagging Pantoja all night, but the damage didn't accumulate. Pantoja just ate it, pushed forward, and kept dragging him into a grappling sequence. Why? Because Erceg didn't have the pop to scare him off. And I think Van is in that same spot. He'll have his moments where he's landing clean, maybe even styling a bit. But if Pantoja doesn't feel threatened, he's not going to back off. He's going to keep walking through those shots like they're jabs in a sparring match. And once he hits that clinch, or once the fence is behind you, it's rinse and repeat for Pantoja. That's what makes this fight so dangerous for Van. It's not about how good your striking is. It's about whether it could buy you space. And if you can't, you better be scrambling like crazy because Pantoja is going to be on your back faster than the glitch in UFC 5, okay? And that's exactly why I'm saying let's all just pump the brakes a bit on Joshua Van, okay? Don't get me wrong, the performance he had was wild. He showed composure, creativity, and high-level striking for someone his age. But none of that's guaranteed success against a guy like Pantoja. This is a completely different type of fight. And honestly, I think it's going to be extremely tough for Van to win this one. And again, this isn't hate. I actually think Van could 100% be a future champion. He's so damn young and his upside is crazy. But this matchup, it just feels like he's being rushed into the deep end too fast. The stylistic gap, the experience difference, the grappling advantage, you know, all of that heavily favors Pantoja. Like, I'm not saying Van's going to get exposed because that's harsh. But I do think we're about to see the gap between a title challenger and a title holder. We're going to see what it looks like when a young, flashy striker runs into something who's already been through wars, fought 5-round fights, and doesn't get rattled by pressure. Pantoja isn't going to let Van breathe. He's going to test every part of his game, especially the grappling. And from what we've seen so far, I just don't think Van is going to be ready for that kind of smoke yet. Now, hear me out. If Van does pull it off, I'll give him all the credit in the world. No excuses, no lucky shot, no coping, just full respect. But based on what we've seen, I just don't see it happening. Not yet, at least.